And then,
You gotta invite her, yeah. So that's a little plus button down here.
okay. Hi, everybody. Just getting our live set up with Sarah Shulman. And let me just find her. Creekside Canine Training.
Hi guys, thanks for jumping on. Somebody else gonna be on here already.
Well, I'm Leia, and this is Steven, and we're Heart and Soul Bullies, and now we got Sarah with us. Go ahead, Sarah, introduce yourself. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. Long day. I'm Sarah. I'm the owner and head trainer at Creekside Canine Training.
Beautiful. Thanks for getting on here with us again. We're really excited for this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we'll go ahead and jump right in. Today, we are going to be talking about training, specifically the window theory of dog training. And what was the other topic? Window theory?
Love languages.
Yeah, that's it. Love
and
languages.
Maybe some pet drive.
Yeah. It all kind of goes together. It's like those three topics are like all put together. So, where to start?
Well, to start out, what is just? Can you give us an overview of what exactly the window theory is?
First thing that I want to mention is all of this is for pet dogs. This is all pet dog training. So if we mention drive, if we mention toy work, if we mention any of that stuff, we're not talking about sport dogs. We're not talking about protection dogs. You know, that's not my area at all. So we're talking about drive, and we're talking about toy play. We're talking about training, all for the pet person and the pet dog. So just want to emphasize that. If anybody out there is watching this that's a protection dog trainer or sport dog trainer,
Right.
Not what we're about. So the first thing that I'll say is window theory, because that's probably something a lot of people don't know what that is. So window theory, not at all a creation of mine. There's this great trainer, Jay Jack. Jay Jack has Next Level Dogs. That's his company. And he has some great blogs. He been in the industry for a while. He created GRC, lots of cool stuff about this guy. He came up and kind of has created a training methodology. It's called window theory. And it is basically, it's training through play, pretty much. And what it does is it helps your dog understand what mentality they should be in and when. And so this obviously can be utilized in training sessions, but it can also be utilized to simply create the way your dog exists, you know, how your dog lives in the world. And it's done through play. And this is, well, yes. So the idea is to help your dog understand when he's going from play to work to calm. So to break that down a little bit more, you have window theory, which I'll get into a lot more. We'll get the questions going. When you're operating in what you call the play window, which I'll go way more into, there are 6 elements of play. So we'll talk about the 6 elements of play, but this cycles us back to my concept of love language. We briefly talked about this when I was on last week, but what a love language is, it means we as humans figuring out how our dog loves to interact, how our dog loves to play, and how our dog wants to express connection between us. So instead of saying, this is what I want you to do, this is how I want you to interact with me, we figure out, well, how do you want to interact with me? And that's our dog's love language. And we can determine that by using the 6 elements of play that fall into that play window that I can get into. This circles back to the idea of drive. Because if our dogs, and again, this is pet dog drive, if we can figure out what gets them jazzed, what their love language is, we can give them appropriate ways to express drive. And then we can avoid a lot of problematic behaviors because we understand our dog's drive, we understand their love language, and we now have these window skills to help our dogs transition. So that's just like the basic boil down before we break it all down in terms of how Jay Jack's window theory, the concept of drive, and then my conversation about love language kind of all fits together.
Okay, excellent. So when you say window theory, I think we need to talk about that just first. How many windows are there?
All right.
And what a window, is it the dog looking out the window?
No, not at all. So let me dive into this. Guys, also, I talk fast when I'm talking about this stuff because I get excited. So, like, questions, jump in, tell me to shut up and stop, and I will. Just, wave a hand or, type something in there because it is going to be new information.
And
Okay.
with that said, anybody who's watching right now, if you have questions, please ask. This is what we are here for. We are here to inform. So if you have questions, ask them, because this is
we're going to be reading.
It makes this whole thing better too. So
okay, so J-Jack window theory. This is how this is breaking down. You have 4 windows, kind of like windows of existence, basically, right? This is how we want our dogs to exist. You have the play window. You have the find your own fun window, the enough window, which is our calm window, and the work window, okay? And with these 4 windows, we help our dog understand, hey, buddy, right now, we're in the play window. This is the party window. We can engage those 6 elements of play, and we can say, love language right here, man, drive. Let's do it. Let's party. Let's party. But if I tell you enough, we're transitioning into the enough window, okay? We're calm. This window has closed. The play window is gone. We are no longer doing that. It's over. We are calm. But if I'm in the play window, right, I say, ready, get it, we're playing, and then I say, sit. Well, guess what? The play window has also closed, and we're working now, okay? If I'm in the play window, play, and I say, free, okay, go do what? This is your own window. This is have your own fun, man. Party, okay? And then I say, ready, get it, and we're back in the play window. And then I say, enough, and we're done. So
can you describe a situation when, I got to say, our friend Lolo's on here. I want to say hi to her. Hi, Lolo. Thank you for jumping in. We got Fred Duran in here, too. Thank you guys for jumping in on here. Sarah, could you explain a situation in which it's helpful to be able to transition from one of those situations to the next? Why is it so beneficial?
Yeah, so we use this all the time in training, and since this session's about like drive and love language, we'll stick to that for reasoning of that. So this will kind of go into your 6 elements of play. So the 6 elements of play are search, stalk, chase, celebrate, consume, and I'm missing it. Oh, fight. So those are our kind of 6 elements, and dogs all fall into those 6 elements of play. So
one of those consume.
Consume, yes, sorry. What consume means is you get it. Like if I'm playing with a toy, okay, man, get to consume that toy. That's all yours. Celebrate means woohoo, party, good opportunity, you did it, nice job. Fight means, come on, man, I'm in there. Fight, tug. Stalk, that pretty much explains it. You want to like get in there and do that. Chase, that pretty much is it. Search, that's like that dog that like you throw something, he goes to get it. So I'm going to use my dog Harvey, and then I think you guys were talking about like Cupcake might be a good example of this. So my dog Harvey has an insane prey drive. Like his prey drive is nuts, and it was a really hard thing for me to work on with him. So here's
how old was he when you got him?
How old was he? He was 5 months.
Okay.
Yeah, he was 5 months. So here's how this would work. The preface to doing this would be an obedience foundation, right? The first thing I do is I make sure my dog Harvey knows how to heel, and I make sure he knows how to give me focus. But even when he was healing, even when he was giving me focus, he still had all this energy, all this manic prey energy, and it was really hard to redirect him in moments. So when you apply the windows, what I do is I teach Harvey.
Somebody asked a question in the chat. What breed is Harvey? What is Harvey?
Harvey is a cattle dog, border.
Kind of cool. By the way, sorry. Good.
Cattle dog border collie.
Okay.
Eyes guy.
So we have drive. We're talking a working dog.
Ingrained drive. Yeah.
Working dog, natural drive, absolutely.
Has it been bred for generations and generations specifically for the purpose of working?
So you have natural drive, but then you also have that intensity of a cattle dog and a border collie, but you also have a dog with a high prey drive. So you got two things that are natural working there. So the first thing I do is I make sure Harvey has decent obedience. I make sure he has I got it, Jack, I know. Yeah, you know. I make sure he has really solid obedience. Then I'm going to start working my windows. So I have my natural drive. Let's figure out Harvey's love language. Harvey wants to fight. That is Harvey's language. Harvey wants to, that prey drive. He wants to grab the toy in his mouth. He wants to take it and go with it, right? And he wants to tear it apart. So what do I do there? I teach Harvey that when he is in the play window, he is allowed to do that. I put the toy on the flirt pole and I go to town, and he is allowed to interact with that. He is allowed to be involved with that. However, he learns if I say enough, we're done. That toy no longer even exists. We're finished. If I'm saying play, 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 and then I say heel or sit, that's done. The prey is done. And he knows I have conditioned him to be solely in the work window. And if I've done that correctly, when I'm out walking him and I haven't said the word,
exactly what I'm going to get
ready means, ooh, we're about to do this, get it, means the work window, or I'm sorry, the play window is open. When he hears ready, get it, he knows I'm in the play window. I can go for this. But if I say sit or come or enough, play window closes. And he knows.
So am I understanding that all the windows is completely human directed? Like you go through each window based on what I tell you?
Where we are in this. I tell you what's going on. If I say ready, that's like start the ignition. And if I say red light, that's telling you to go. But if I say enough, we are on a red light, right? Enough.
So in a situation then, in a situation where this comes in handy is, matter of fact, we probably have somebody on here who we've spoken to already about this. We've got friends who they've come to us. They've been like, oh, man, I take my dogs on these walks, and they see a squirrel, and they go nuts.
Right. So with Harvey, walks were really difficult for two reasons. So real quick, before I continue with the topic of prey drive, because prey drive is really complicated, there are absolutely types of prey drive where you shut it down, right? Where we stop it. We don't sit there and we go, okay, I'm going to da-da-da-da-da-da. All of that can still happen. All the window stuff can still happen. But if you have a dog that's putting others in danger or putting their dog in danger or putting other dogs in danger because of prey drive, the very first thing you do is obedience and behavior work to stop that, okay? Harvey's prey drive was not like that. Harvey's prey drive was never a danger. It was annoying. That was basically the thing. So if you have that dog who is going to kill another dog if it comes near them, or going to go nuts if it hears high-pitched kids squealing, that's different. You need to find a behavior trainer, and you need to address that in a really different way. So having thrown that out there, when I would walk Harvey, it was squirrel, 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 little dog, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. However, once Harvey knew if I closed the play window and we were in the work window, those things didn't matter. He was not allowed to address those things because we were in the work window, okay? And then we're working. If I say enough, we're completely calm and relaxed. And then if I say ready, and I pull out, because I carry a toy now with Harvey everywhere I go. So I say ready, and I pull out his toy, get it. Oh, we're going to play with the toy. We're going to go. Okay, heel. And we're back in the work window. It sounds really right.
How important is timing when you're deciding to make these choices?
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. The way I'm describing this, the way we're doing this would be sort of if we're kind of doing training sessions. Like that's how we would train our dogs in short increments. Maybe your work window lasts 10 minutes. Your play window lasts 5 minutes. When this becomes existence for your dog, my work window could be 12 hours long, right? my work window could be all day. And I get home and I pull out my flirt pole and I say, ready, get it. And we play for 10 minutes. And then I say, enough. And we're finished. And then my dog's in the enough window. When my dogs come here to work with me, they are in the work window, unless I say enough, and they get to go lay down and do their thing. So we're talking about things that can be very specific in terms of, okay, I'm in a training session, we're doing this, or they can be very broad. The main boil down with all of this is that play and training are not separate. Play is a part of training, and you use play by cycling through the 4 windows in order to advance your training. It shouldn't be, I'm training, okay, let's have a play session. Or I got home from work and now we're going to go play and then we're going to be done. They go together, but by cycling through the 4 windows, you can use them to your advantage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sorry, I have us muted when you're talking. Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Somebody's writing something. How do you get his attention back when they're in the height of their prey drive, when he is in the mode that is, okay, yeah. So when he's asking about what we call threshold, like what do you do when your dog is already seeing red and already in the zone? So this comes back to the concept of having to have an obedience foundation. And if your dog is heeling next to you really nicely, but when they see something, they're losing it, our timing is off. And what we need to make sure we do is we are communicating to our dog prior to the incident developing. And this comes down to timing, like, Steve was talking about, of having a really good heel, but also not throwing your dog to the wolves. You got to build that in small. You got to make sure that first you're nailing a good solid heel in neutral environments without the option of going over threshold. You're making sure you have a dog who heels nicely, who focuses on you. And maybe you have worked and practiced these windows in a neutral environment without your squirrels and all your distractions. Then when your dog really understands enough and really understands the work window, and their work window is solid, like that work window is a super solid heel, and your dog gives you attention, then you get to build and build and build and start getting that into the real world. But if you're stepping out into the real world and your dog's losing their shit, then we need to step back.
Right.
Because if your dog goes over threshold, you're right, it's going to be really difficult to snap your dog's attention. So you need to take a step back, and we need to see what is happening before you hit threshold. How do we preemptively communicate to our dog? And if we can't preemptively communicate to our dog, if we can't get to that moment, then we need to step back and solidify our obedience training. And the solidifying of our obedience training would be the work window.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is you need to start with building a solid foundation of obedience, and it's basically taking the time and being consistent.
Yes, but I do want to just point out that that is part of window theory, because building a solid, like if you do a program with us, we're going to teach your dogs obedience, but we're also going to utilize windows. So this goes into a whole other part of windows with love language. So if the work window is me teaching my dog that solid heel that this person needs, that solid heel in order to prevent threshold, that's my work window. So maybe I take 15 minutes and I'm plugging away and I'm working, and my dog's like, okay, cool. But in the back of my dog's head, they're going, hey, there's an opportunity that play window might open up any minute, and I'm going to get to express my natural drive and express my love language. So I'm really going to bust ass in this work window, and I'm going to make sure I get this done because I have the opportunity of opening that play window. And then when I finish working, I go, ready, get it? And my dog dives right into toy play or flirt pull or tug, and they get to experience play, and they get to experience drive, and they get to experience their love language. And then I'm ready to go back to work, and I go sit down, and play closes. Or I'm ready to finish, and I go enough, and we're completely done. So when I'm telling you to drill obedience, all I'm telling you is to spend more time in the work window. That doesn't mean play goes away. It simply means you choose when to open that window, and your dog knows, oh, there's an opportunity that window might open. So let me get going in here. I just worked with this dog, Gino. Awesome dog. He's a bull terrier. Bull terriers, right? Bullheaded guys. I got Gino in, and Gino didn't care about me at all. He didn't want to have anything to do with me. He planted his little bull terrier legs, and he said, I'm not gonna move. Screw you. And instead of getting in there and just like having a leash fight with him, I said, all right, man, you don't want to do this. What do you want to do? Let's bust out some. What do you like? And Gino told me, I want to chase. I want you to chase me, and I want you to throw this toy, and I want to chase. So I said, ready? Get it. And I threw something for him, and we went back and forth, and we did all that. He's like, yeah, I'm partying now. This is super cool. And then I put Gino's collar back on him, and I said, okay, let's go. And Gino went right into the walk. There's video of this. It'll be getting up on our website within like the next 24 hours. It kind of just
excellent. What is your website? Tell us your website.
CreeksideCanine.com.
Put that on the thingy thing. I was going to say one thing that just made me think about the question that was asked earlier about how do you get your dog out of the it doesn't even have to be as far as seeing red or in the red zone. Like if there's a squirrel, I think some people that I've noticed, they need to watch their dog's behavior and catch it before it gets to a point where it's the red zone against the squirrel.
It all comes down to general obedience, and that work window is general obedience. So there's a lot of conversation there in terms of training technique. What do you do in that moment? How do you communicate to your dog? Hey man, I need you to focus on me. I need you to heel. And so that's just broad obedience training. And there's so many different ways to handle obedience training. And it all just sort of follows into that work window. So yeah, it's all about, without like going into a crazy detailed conversation about how to teach your dog how to heel and all that stuff, it all goes into preemptive communication. I can't wait for the moment to be happening. I have to communicate to my dog before it's happening. And a lot of people will say your dog goes 0 to 60, but they don't.
Right.
They're going to give you cues. And if you learn how to read your dog's cues, and if you learn what your dog's triggers are, if you learn what's going to set your dog off, then you can prepare yourself for these moments. And by learning your dog's love language, and by learning the drive, and by learning how to harness drive, you're going to know the moments that set your dog off, and you're going to be prepared. But if you process these things, if you go through these things, then you're going to be able to address those things a lot easier. So with Gino, I played with him. All of a sudden, he's like, this is fun. My drive is being fulfilled. And then I stopped the play, and he went, oh, well, there's an opportunity that may come back. Hooked the leash on him, and he walked. He walked perfectly for me. There was no reason for him to fight me whatsoever, because he knew that there was something ahead, something that would benefit him, something that he wanted, and it was in that window. A lot of people do this with food, and that's totally cool. I use tons of food when I'm in the work window. Right. We use a lot of food. That happens in the work window, though. In the play window, I don't use food unless I have a dog who has no toy drive. So Gino knew that in the work window, yeah, he got treats, but his job was to walk, right? He was being a jerk before, and he wouldn't walk. His job was to walk. As soon as I took him out of the play window, he was willing to do that for me, because he knew he had the opportunity of going back into the play window. But also, his little brain was no longer wheel spinning out, because I had taken his natural drive, I had focused it, and I had harnessed it in a direction that made sense to him.
Sarah, I love drive is one of my favorite topics in dogs because of all the different varieties of drives. And I said this last time, I'm going to say this again. I want to do a talk, probably more than one, because I imagine it would take hours to go over all the different types of drives and how to tap into them and how to find the thresholds for them. I'm looking forward to that one too.
With Gino, I have a question. How many times, was it enough just going that one time to show him?
It was our first session, and we didn't have to go back.
Okay.
After that, he walked for me, no problem. And I cycled through the windows with him throughout the whole session. So an hour session, I learned that Gino, he's only like 5 months, and I learned that he needed short sessions. So I would do 10 minutes of the work window. Then I would cycle into ready, get it, play. I do about 5 minutes of that, back to the work window, 5 minutes, back and forth, back and forth. Then when he needed a little break, I said enough. And, you know, he's still learning what enough means. Enough is something that dogs have to be taught. They don't know how to just hear a word and go, oh, I'm calm now. There's a whole process of teaching a dog what enough means. But that way I was cycling him back and forth, and we did that for an hour. And we got to the point where, you know, we're doing longer work sessions and shorter play sessions. And then I ended it with a good solid play session. And then I said, okay, enough, and we're finished. So what I'm doing, yeah.
What does he do when you say enough?
Well,
I'm thinking a 5-month-old bull terrier. What does he do when you say enough?
They're working on teaching Gino enough. What enough means is you simply stop and you take a deep breath and play is done. So when a dog is properly in enough, I can take the toy, throw it in the air, wave it in front of their face, because the toy is not in play anymore. The toy is done. The toy only exists in the play window. So Gino's still working on that. But if I do this with Harvey, right, and I say enough, he goes, oh, and he just stops. And I toss my toy around, blah, 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 and he kind of looks around, and he's like, oh, I guess we're finished. And from there, I can either transition him into work, or I can transition him back to play, or I just say, hey, man, that was fun. We're done. And I can walk away. But he knows now, not in play, toy's not in session, we're finished.
Okay. How do you know, when you say you could tell the dog was finished with that training session, they've had enough? What are signs that your dog has had enough, that your dog has reached its limit?
Getting a little wired, like he was having a little bit more trouble towards the end with his skills. So like I'm trying to remember, we were walking, and I was starting to see just the slightest bit of regression, where he's kind of slowing down. And I kind of was looking at his face a little bit, and he started to kind of having that like, ooh, sort of like puppy glazed over face. So I just said, you know, I'm not going to push this. I don't want to go past that point, like threshold, right? Like a version of threshold too. I don't want to go past that point. So I just said, you know, okay, buddy, I'm going to reward you with one more round of the play window. And that also cued me that he was done, because he did not play as intensely as he had played before. And then I said enough, and we wrapped the session.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's
I think it's really good that you talked about how you were just doing short sessions. Of course, it's a puppy, but I think people need to remember that the training doesn't have to be an hour long of you like drilling this into, especially a young dog, like short sessions, just like kids, they get burnt out.
Hour long. It was an hour long. That whole session was training. The difference was I only had him in the work window for 10 minutes at a time, and then to the play window. But that training session was 1 hour, but I only kept them in the work window for short increments and broke it up with the play window. So that's where the idea of remembering that all of this stuff is actually training. So yes, Gino only did short increments in the work window, bouncing back and forth, but he did an hour-long training session, and then I ended him in the enough window, and that's where he's going to stay until he's cued to go back into another window.
Okay. And is it in enough? Would he like go and lay down on a bed and rest? Was it called rest or enough window? Is that a rest window, or am I confusing that?
Calm window. It's just about calm energy.
Okay.
Calm energy. Yep. Calm energy. Yep.
Okay. So that's where that I wanted to talk about our dog Cupcake, because we find her different than the other dogs. Like at the end of the night, we're all chilling, watching TV, having our drinks. And then there's Cupcake. And she just doesn't get it like the other ones. So.
She has to roam the perimeter. That's part of one thing she does, is she walks the perimeter of the house, like looking out the windows, making sure everything's clear. Or something. Or something. Yeah, you know, that's me putting my own thing to it. Or she's, you know, jumping on the other dogs while they're trying to sleep, trying to relax. And then I find myself being like, all right, Cupcake, come on up here. And she'll finally make our way to one of our laps. And that's where most of the time, that's the only time she's calm. But even then, it's like, I gotta be on top of your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time I'm gonna be calm.
Is she your youngest besides Tomato?
Yeah. Well, yeah, technically, yeah. She and Voodoo are about the same age. Yeah.
They're 2.
They're so different. That's so.
Yeah, it's crazy how different they are.
Yeah.
So for me, honestly, that's less about her teaching a calm window, and that's more about her brain kind of just being frazzled and kind of all over the place. And that's an element of drive that has to be harnessed. Everybody else is being calm and chill, but Cupcake is saying, I'm still going. I'm still going. Yeah. And because I'm mentally still going, you're trying to calm me down, and I'm not there. I'm not in that place right now. So Cupcake in that moment, for me, needs to be transitioned into either play, have your own fun, or work. And have your own fun would necessarily mean like, here's a bone, I need you to go do you. Play would be you saying, girl, you are wired, I'm sensing that, what do you want to do? Let's go play a little bit and see if that brings you down. Work might be say, okay, Cupcake, we're all chilling, you're going to go to your place bed. It sounds like for Cupcake in those moments, free roam is just causing her brain to be scattered. So if you can harness her desire to pace around and get in your business and all of that stuff, then what's going to end up happening is she's going to harness up that brain a little bit. She's going to focus up that brain a little bit. You're going to redirect her into something that is making sense to her, something that's alleviating her energy. She obviously is a dog who has a higher intensity than your other dogs, who has a stronger need to wear down than your other dogs. So in those moments, I would simply help Cupcake understand that there are other things for her to do besides pace around and get in your business. What are those other things? Is it a task? Is it an obedience task? Like, go to your place bed and have this toy? Is it, I understand that you are kind of like not ready to settle. Let's go exercise. Let's go do some play to help you get ready to settle. And then by doing that, you would, play, work, help get that brain going. And then you would either keep her in the work window, transition her into the have your own fun window, let her have a toy, go do her thing, or teach her a solid enough so that we're working, and then it's enough. Right. The problem with a lot of dogs, it's really difficult, and it takes some pretty good training for a dog to exist in the enough window for an extended period of time. Right. So I use the enough window. It's doable. It can absolutely happen. And there's some cool trainers out there that'll show you how to do it. When I'm working with my pet folks, usually what enough means is moment is over. Okay. This moment is over and we're chill now. Go do your own thing. But the dog might rev back up again. The dog might get going again after a period of time. But what it does is helps the dog go from play to work to knowing both of those are finished and we're now in a calm state and we're just going to carry on with our life. But if Cupcake is trying to go into that enough window with you, or you're trying to calm her down and she's just not doing it, then we need to, get her going in another way. So when all your other dogs have calmed down and chilled out, Cupcake's not ready to do that. So Cupcake either needs to be in the work window in that moment, or we need to do something to alleviate some of the intensity that's going on in her brain. So then, in work window, there's a lot of things that can be, considered work when you're working with a dog. So what I'm hearing you say is one thing we can do is we work on place, and that is, putting her in the spot where we want her and rewarding her for doing the right thing for when she is being obedient. It's one. Yeah, so rewarding her for doing the right thing. And again, this kind of goes into a conversation about how to teach obedience. A solid place command means that your dog doesn't leave. That's work window for sure. But it can also just be really helpful in those moments because you're looking for just, a brief moment here to still be transitioning. So I wouldn't put Cupcake on the place bed and just be like, all right, there's place bed, go do that. I would work on being like, hey, Cupcake, let's play. Let's engage. Let's do this. Let's have a moment here. Let's do this. Okay, girl. Right? That moment.
I can see that.
Yeah, and then she places for a little while. Maybe in 20 minutes, you say, hey, ready? get it. And we kind of will go back into that so that Cupcake continues to understand this opportunity exists. But then with place, you know, you have distraction place, you have duration place, you have all of these different areas of obedience. What we don't want to do, though, is we don't want to put Cupcake on the place bed and she's vibrating. You know, she's like, I'm on the bed, I'm not allowed to move. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this because I have to. That's not fun for anybody. So we want to make sure when we get Cupcake on the place bed, we're putting her on there in a state where she actually is going to relax, because the place bed should not be an area of containment, really. It should be a place of relaxation, and your dog choose relaxation on the place bed instead of having forced relaxation. And if your dog is revved up and going crazy, yeah, it's fine. Somebody knocks on your door and you need to get the dog out of the way, sure. Go place them for 10 minutes, let that person come in, free them. That's fine. But if we can control our dog's overall energy, and addressing energy is very different from addressing drive, because you're kind of working on the opposite, right? Here we're talking about how do I harness drive and how do I use that to my advantage. Addressing energy might mean I'm going to teach my dog to take all this intense forward energy and dial it back. So in Cupcake's sense, it sounds like we got some, you know, not manic energy, but restlessness. Right. So I'm going to kind of give her an outlet for that, let her be calm, and then tell her to go relax on the place bed. But if she jumps on that place bed and she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I got to get off this place bed, what's happening? Then we need to either get her back into a play window, teach her better enough, or work on general drills to help Cupcake dial down her energy. And that's kind of another thing that would exist in the work window, but it's all about dogs bringing energy levels down naturally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
especially at the end of the night where the other dogs are here and she's here, probably just a little more exercise for her to help her.
She's different, you know, and she's telling, you know, every dog is different, and you guys are such a good example of that, because you have these dogs who, you know, are all the same breed, who are all so well bred, and they're all such different personalities. And what Cupcake's telling you is that what calms and you know, takes to chill out her siblings isn't what's going to chill her out. And she's going to need a little bit more than that. And she also might need a little bit more of a firmer work window in terms of obedience in there as well. And she might need some separate energy drills to teach her, okay, well, outside, this is appropriate, but inside, it's not.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Yeah. So are there certain behaviors or skills that the window theory is best suited for?
Well, you know, I'm not a full-time window theory trainer like Jay Jack. I take the windows and use them to my advantage, basically. I take them and apply them to where I want to use them and to where I think they're beneficial. So we mostly use our windows for our training program, Fun and Games Training Through Play. And this is when we introduce many different styles of play to our dogs. We introduce nose work, tricks, agility, and general window theory in terms of toy play. And we cycle through all of that. When I'm teaching a general obedience program, when I'm teaching a behavioral program, I do incorporate elements of the windows, but I view it as part of my toolbox. I got a toolbox and I have window theory in there. So for example, Gino, window theory worked for him. That's 100%. Now, a trainer like Jay Jack or Blake Rodriguez, they might use window theory for absolutely everything that they do. And that's cool. That's not how I operate. I use window theory as something in my tool belt, and it worked amazingly for Gino. Now, I will be honest, I do kind of incorporate certain elements of it into everything I do. Like, I now do the play window and the work window with all dogs that I train, just to have a fun breakup of a training session and to keep things, you know, fun and exciting. And by operating in the play window and running through those elements of play, it helps me understand the dog's love language, and that love language I apply to everything I do. Yeah. So, Gino, right, I had the windows. So yeah, I do some windows. I do all that stuff with every dog. Full window theory I had in my toolbox. I used it with Gino. That dog I was talking about last time, the Shiba Inu, we tried to do that with him, and he just was a jerk. Like, he does not respect his parents at all. And we could have worked through it with window theory, but again, not how I work all the time. And
Sure.
he needed basically to live in the work window. If you're gonna, I mean, the work window theory exists. Like, you can't do anything without being in it, pretty much.
Yeah, I was going to say it kind of seems like a natural flow of the dog's daily life anyway, plus you sticking yourself in there.
Jack kind of molded it and sculpted it into a nice style of training. And so what we do, we use the parts of it that work for us in those moments. And sometimes we use the whole thing in terms of, you know, working with clients. Hubert, though, they would pull out toys and they would start doing stuff with Hubert, and he was biting ankles, he was biting hands, and there was just no respect there. So I just said, so I don't want to get into too much like lingo with you guys, but when you're dealing with this stuff, you have opportunistic and inevitable. Play is opportunistic. That means you have the opportunity to play, but guess what? It's on me. I will give you that opportunity. Work, training, all of that, that's inevitable. Hubert lost the opportunity to have that style of play, and I had to pull out the tools that are in my toolbox in terms of just like obedience work, because he was being a jerk to his parents, and that's not acceptable at all. Teeth never touch skin. It's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So that's just like examples of two dogs and how different everything can be, and how when you operate the way I operate with this toolbox of so many different tools, you know, the concept of window theory is there. But then you have a trainer like me. I have specific ways I always train. I always use food. I use tools, and I use communication. Hello. And I always, you know, use those elements. And I also use elements of the windows and play and all of that as part of my training work. It all boils down to the overall concept of love language, of what is going to work for you and your dog. How does your dog want to interact with you, and how do you want to be able to communicate with your dog? And if you can master that one concept of understanding what gets your dog going, then you'll know what tools to take out of your toolbox, and you'll know what elements of play work for your dog, and you'll be able to cycle through things however you want.
Okay, yeah. That one of my next questions was, have you ever run into a dog where it didn't work for that specific dog and you had to, you know, go another route?
I mean, so that goes back to the fact that I'm not a full window trainer, right? It's just like, we're going to talk about so many different things. It's just one of the things that I'll utilize. Mm-hmm. In terms of, was there a dog it didn't work for? I don't know. It definitely dogs that I don't use it with. There are definitely dogs that I just don't follow through with that. But it all kind of also, though, goes back to the fact that it's natural existence. So what Jay Jack would say in that moment is that you are using it. You are in work window the entire time. Because I have a lot of dogs that a person would look at and say, oh, you are doing the, just general obedience work. You're doing just general obedience work with that dog. So it's difficult to say if I've had any dogs that it wouldn't work with, because I haven't done the full process of everything with all my dogs. It's just something that we pull out and we work with, and I think it's very beneficial. What I find in my style of training that I apply to every dog is, what do you like in the play window? And if I tell you the play window is closed, you're in the work window. That kind of double window like that, I always do. If we're working, we're working. If we're playing, we're playing. And guess what? I'm going to cue you as to when we're doing that. That happens to everybody. I think play, the big thing that you can take away, you know, as a dog trainer, you get to have a whole lot of different people in your life, like mentors. And, you know, I've worked with a lot of people and I follow a lot of people, and Jay Jack is just one of those. So taking away the pieces from that and taking away the pieces from many other trainers has kind of formulated what works for me. And so what I've taken away the most from Jay Jack is the understanding that play and training are the same thing, and that play should be incorporated into everything you do, and that by utilizing play, you can figure out what your dog likes. So I've never had a dog that that kind of understanding doesn't work. I have dogs who have to learn how to play. I have dogs who I bring something out and they're like, I don't know what to do with that. What do you want from me? Dogs who are too afraid.
About that, like at your Creekside training, what do you guys utilize for teaching play, or just stuff we should already know that's play?
I mean, so many different things are, play. If you're talking about, play in terms of window theory and that type of thing, then you're, if you're talking about play in terms of window theory, we're talking about oftentimes toy play, usually toy play. And you can absolutely have dogs who are not toy driven, and that's when we can use food. But if you have a dog who needs to learn how to play with toys, this is where building relationship comes in. Like, we have a dog here right now, Zelda. She's a German Shepherd, and Zelda's got a lot going on. Zelda's got a lot going on. And the first couple days, Zelda didn't want to have anything to do with toys. She just ran around and searched for dad all day long. And, but after the first couple of days, we bonded, we connected, we got her trust, and then I got her loving on me. I got her having fun with me, and then like, oh, hey, Zelda, cool. Ooh, what's this? This is kind of exciting. And so when you have a dog who's reluctant to play, the first thing is confidence, and the first thing is relationship, and the first thing is bond, because that dog's not going to trust you. And play is about trust, because it's a team game. So you have to make sure you have the trust of the dog. But you also have to remember that play can be many, many things. And some dogs, they don't want to play. They don't want to tug. They don't want to do that stuff. And that's cool. That's not their love language. But maybe they want to, do some tricks. Maybe they want to do some nose work. Maybe they want to go run through a tunnel. Maybe, like my dog Hank, they want to get slapped around a little bit. Like for Hank, say, ready? And he's like, oh my God, what's about to happen? I'll say, get it? And then he goes, oh my God. And he bounces all over the place, and he wants me to rough his head up. He'll just smack on his butt, tumble with him. And that is like the greatest thing in the world. And then I say, down, and he downs, and we're done. Or enough, and we're done. But that's one of the things about
a flirt pole, like with a ball on the end of it. That seems really engaging.
So we use a flirt pole, but I use a collapsible flirt pole. The reason I do that is because it allows me to physically engage with the dog. So my flirt pole, it's about like that long, and it goes and collapses in on itself, and it's got a bungee on it and then a carabiner. And so I can hook all different types of toys, and I go, ready, get it. And we go about it, and I say, ready, get it. And they get to have some toy time, and then it's right back into work. So by just inserting a little bit of that here and there. Again, though, like I have some dogs when I'm not like doing straight window theory or anything like that, when I'm, training dogs, because it's just a part of what we do. It's not how we do everything, who don't want that. I have a lot of dogs who want to scratch on the head. I have a lot of dogs who want to take a break from training and climb in my lap and cuddle with me. And that's totally cool. That's what they do. They're telling you, I want physical touch.
Gotcha.
That's what language is. I want physical touch. I want to interact with you personally. So they get that. That's what they get in that moment. Or, I have dogs who I might give a toy to, and they're like, thank you. I'm going to go do my own thing with this. Have your own fun. One window. And they go do their own thing and play with that window. And then I take it and I say enough, and we go and we carry on with what we're doing. Now, if I did that with Harvey, he would stand there with the toy and be like, well, why aren't you tugging on it? Because that's Harvey's love language. He wants me in there with him. So there's so many different ways, guys. There's so many different ways to figure out what your dog likes and how you can use that to your advantage. But it really comes down to the natural drive of your dog. And the big problem that we run into in dog training is that we try to suppress drive. And there are, like I said, different things that have to be stopped. There are certain behaviors that there are no excuses for, and you simply have to stop those behaviors. But if you can find ways of letting your dog express themselves, and by expressing themselves they learn how to do that in an appropriate fashion, you can use it all to your benefit.
And actually, one of the things you just said, somebody just joined on here, Champion Onsite, who's actually Cupcake's upcoming stud.
Ooh.
And this is a dog who is very toy driven, especially a squeaky toy.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just thinking about it. I bet she, of course, his owner, brings a squeaky toy ball everywhere she goes on a walk. Because every time we've seen them in the show ring, she always has one. And that's something that we've never really done. I've never really done it and brought like a toy with us on a walk to kind of like integrate the two things at the same time. So that's definitely something I'm going to do next time we go on a walk.
That though, and she's probably doing it totally naturally. That dog knows they can have that squeaky toy and they can't have that squeaky toy because otherwise that's chaos. So if she's walking around with a squeaky toy and a high-driven dog, then that dog knows, okay, well, this is when mom is going to let me have the squeaky toy, and this is when mom's not going to let me have the squeaky toy. And that's where the idea that natural window theory is exactly what we do every day with our dog kind of comes into play. Because if I'm walking around with a toy in my back pocket that my dog really, really wants, and he's not jumping on my butt and, biting my ass to get that toy, then my dog knows and understands we're in the work window right now, and I'm working, and mom will give me that toy when it's appropriate for me to have my toy. I'm waiting for my opportunity to go into play.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. What about like when you're working with the dogs with this specific theory, with the specific window theory? How do you measure or evaluate the progress of a dog that you're working with? Like, how do you know that it's working?
It's turnaround time. If I say enough and a dog drops the toy right out of their mouth, it goes, ooh, okay. Or if my dog's going on with the toy and I say out and the toy falls out of my dog's mouth, I say place and he jumps right on the place bed, then we're in good shape. But if I say out and my dog holds that toy and I've got to work the out, because out, guys, is work. Out is part of work. So if I say out and my dog doesn't out, well, then we're not there yet. We got to keep working the out. If I say enough and my dog's like, I'm not there yet, I'm not doing that, then we got to keep working that. If I say ready and my dog's like, oh, did you say something? Then he's not fully understanding his cues. So it's all about timing and it's all about understanding our cues, and they pick it up real fast. The two pieces you got to make sure your dog understands is out. Out is so important for so many reasons. It's one of the greatest things you can ever teach your dog for so many reasons. And for toy play, it's vital, because if I out my dog, he looks at me and says, screw you, then I'm not in a proper state of obedience to be doing anything. That dog needs to know how to out. If I say out, it comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, you got to back up and retrain that skill before moving on.
Kind of retrain separately. Teaching a solid enough and teaching a solid out are really important.
Yeah, we use out all the time.
We use out constantly.
That's huge. But here's the thing, guys. Out means don't pick it back up. So if your dog spits it out and he's like, I got it again. No. Out means it's out. Out means it's done. Like, you don't pick it back up until I give it to you.
Right. We use out for a whole lot of things.
Yeah, we had to recently start using it for wood chips, because our backyard is all wood chips. So they all just started eating wood chips on a daily.
Yeah, but that can go into a little bit more of an obedience system too, in terms of preemptive work. So, okay, so without going too much into this, like, if you teach your dog that wood chips should never go in their mouth, it's not about an out. It's that you don't put wood chips in your mouth. Whereas with out for a toy, you're allowed to have that in your mouth, but you got to out when I tell you to, and then you need to leave it alone. But if we preemptively communicate to our dog, don't put wood chips in your mouth, or our dog knows if I put wood chips in my mouth, there's going to be a consequence, then our dog doesn't put wood chips in our mouth anymore, because those are items that should never be in our dog's mouth. Whereas a toy, I'm saying, hey, you can have that, man. Like, that's yours. Out, you're finished, mine, bye. So things like my dog is picking up the remote and running around with it. My dog has a chew in his mouth. My dog is eating wood chips. These are unwanted behaviors. And these are behaviors that, if we teach the respect, but if we also teach our dog that's not an item that ever goes in your mouth, we don't have to out that item because it never goes in their mouth. Yeah. Right?
Okay. So we should probably use a different command.
It doesn't necessarily
the wood chips.
Stop it before you even need to say the out. Like, if you need to say the out, that means we've missed our moment because the wood chip is in their mouth. But if your wood chips don't go in my mouth, that's not something that goes in my mouth, then we don't have to say out. So in those types of moments, if we're saying out or leave it or whatever, we have missed the moment of communication because it's already in my dog's mouth. because at the moment she's just like, wood chips, cool, toy, awesome. Oh, you told me to spit it out? Okay, but I'm gonna do that again, by the way, in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I know that this is an item that shouldn't go in my mouth. I just know you told me to spit it out, and I did that. So I've done what you've asked me to do. I'm gonna go get that again though, and then you'll just tell me to out again, because that's the rhythm. That's the cycle of what we're doing, just like if I have a toy in my mouth. So she has to understand that's not a toy. That's an item you don't put in your mouth ever, right? That's just a no-go item.
Huh.
Okay.
Huh. Yeah. So we did that wrong.
Hey, listen. Hey, and you guys, anybody watching, training your dogs, working with your dogs, whether it's obedience or just living with your dogs, it's a constant working and learning experience. And that's how you get the most perfect dogs. I mean, that's how you end up with the dogs that you never forget, the dogs that you remember, that people around you who know you remember for the rest of their lives. Is by taking that time and realizing you made mistakes, making adjustments, and realizing what works with those dogs specifically.
I would say also, like, when you say a perfect dog is a dog that goes through each of those windows just like naturally and perfectly at ease with you. And
in the dog training world, we never say perfect, because we don't say perfect because they're sentient beings and they are going to make mistakes. But making
ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Being fallible is so important in dog training. Like, if you roll into dog training and you're like, I got it all, like, I know exactly what I'm doing. If any dog trainer like tells you, I know everything, I know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing, but like, you're gonna make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. I make mistakes. I worked with clients that afterwards I'm just like, damn, I should have handled that differently. Or I get in the middle with a client, I'm like, I need to handle this differently and do something different. Training is not linear. You will still plan, and then it'll be like, oh, this is my training plan. That dog will get in there with you, and you're like, woo, 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 that's the training plan. And if you can't do that, or even if you can't, have an experience with the dog and you're like, that didn't go I wanted it to go, that wasn't great, you learn from it. You're going to learn from everything. You're going to learn from every mistake that you make. I learn from every mistake that I make, and then I know that I don't do that again, and I learn from it and I grow. And that is just how it goes. Training is a constant evolution of learning, whether it's with your dog or whether it's a trainer. We're always learning. That's why, like I told you, I have all these different training mentors, and I continue to learn from so many different people and so many cool people. And by doing so, you just grow, and you learn from your mistakes. And that's what I do. I learn from my mistakes, and the more I learn, the fewer mistakes I get.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Always learning.
So anybody who's watching, if they found themselves interested in wanting to learn more about the window theory of training, are there any resources or books or articles or websites that you recommend for anybody who wants to learn more about it?
J-Jack. You just Google J-Jack window theory, and a lot of stuff's going to come up. It's fascinating. It's just fascinating stuff. Fortunate enough to get to do some time with him at some conventions, fortunate enough to take some one-on-one lessons from him. And he is a really fascinating guy, and he does just amazing work. And just a little bit more background on that. So his work is influenced a great deal by another amazing trainer, Ivan Bablinov. And these guys are like revolutionary in the dog training. His work is, training without conflict, and two super cool guys that I would highly recommend checking out and investigating if you're looking to learn about window theory. Another thing that we could talk about at another time, though, is I think that would be a good session would be energy, because window theory talks a lot about, and this is where dog training is so fascinating, right? Window theory talks a lot about natural drive and how to harness it. But there are plenty of situations of where you do need your dog to kind of live in that enough window. So how do we bring natural energy down in a positive way that isn't suppressing our dogs and that isn't punishing our dogs into low energy? And that's where I would talk to you a lot about a very, a good friend and close mentor, Tyler Nudo. And so that's like a whole other conversation that we can have. But I'd like to point that out because in this enough window, there's a lot of work that can be done to help your dog simply bring their energy levels down. And that's what I do personally when I'm working with high, like, reactive dogs, when I'm working with dogs who are charging doors. Yes, I give them the play outlet. Absolutely, I give them the play outlet, but I also work on how do I actually bring that energy down. So that's like a whole other part of the big picture in dog training.
And also, for the record, you can also contact Sarah Shulman from Creekside Training. You go to her website, creeksidetraining.com. You could find her here on Instagram. She's on Facebook. Send her a message. I'm sure she's open and willing to answer any questions you guys might have.
You have a puppy kindergarten class coming up, like, next week, right?
Yeah, so we got a puppy kindergarten class. That's for our dogs 16 to 26 weeks, and it's a day training program. We do a lot of day training programs. We love our day training programs. The reason I love day training programs is there's a lot of grunt work involved in dog training, and it allows us to do the grunt work for you. You're welcome. I can't see who you are, but it says you learned a lot. There you go.
Hi, BJ. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, so the puppy, we like the day training programs for many reasons. The dog goes home with you at the end of the day. You're an active player in the process. We get to lay down the grunt work, and especially for your puppies, it's how you don't get Velcro dogs. We remove that puppy from you for a little while, and they got to learn how to survive on their own 4 feet, and they got to learn how to get confident. So we have our puppy kindergarten program, 16, 26 weeks, starting on the 11th. And then our Canine University, which is our adult dog day training programs, run all the time. If there's a kennel full, we fill it. That's for obedience intensives. And then that's also for our fun and games training through play program. If you like what we were talking about today, that's what that is. But also always book privates with me too.
Okay. Double XL pit bulls. I see you said you missed out. Don't worry. We're gonna repost this thing. All of our lives we repost. We put them on YouTube.
One other little plug here for you guys. After a good deal of requests in the last couple weeks, I will be putting together some virtual training options for my folks who are not in Frederick and can't drive to me. After some requests from our last talk. So stay tuned for that, guys, and what that's going to look like to get some virtual training options out there for the folks who are turning into these talks.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
Yay, good.
Before we end this, is there anything else specifically you want to cover?
No, I know that's like so much information to cover in like 1 hour, because I could like go into it forever. It's so detailed. It's such a detailed topic. So welcome to talk about it more down the road. And again,
you are a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, it's a lot of information. And again, guys, if you like what I'm talking about, check Jay Jack out. He's amazing. Just check him out. I highly recommend it. But no, I think, maybe next time we can dive into some of that energy talk, because that goes right back to drive and love language, just a different way of doing it. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, then. Well, I guess we will talk about our 2 readings that we have coming up.
Okay. Yeah.
We have. I'll let you go.
Oh, I was gonna get one.
Okay, you ready to just?
Yeah.
Fourth the buck.
Hold on. Leia's going to get voodoo right now. Let me see.
Okay,
yeah, I'm just going to come over here and show her off.
Okay.
So you can see our dogs in their natural environment.
Hi.
So who do we have here, Leia?
This is Voodoo.
This is Voodoo. Voodoo is, she's what, a little over 2 years old, and she's got a breeding coming up with a grand champion Dooley, who's also a black tri dog. Cupcake is in her cage because she was going crazy, like I said earlier. Here's Cupcake. Come say hi, Cupcake. Cupcake also this winter has a breeding coming up with a dog that we mentioned earlier, Champion On-Site. Cupcake is our dog who's got unquestionably the highest drive of all of our dogs that we have. She likes to go nonstop. Voodoo is probably our lowest drive dog. So like you said earlier, we have dogs that are very, very, very different. So same with us. You guys, if you're ever watching and you ever have any questions about anything, about our dogs, about training, about obedience, I'll give you what I know about obedience. What I don't know, I'm going to send you to Sarah. And we are also very, very, transparent about all of our dogs. So never hesitate to ask any questions. So these are our 2 future mamas coming up hopefully this winter.
Yeah. I got to tell you guys, I've met all these dogs, and they're just phenomenal dogs. They're just awesome dogs. You could not ask for better temperaments than these dogs.
Man, thank you for saying that.
A lot of dogs through our doors here. We get a lot of bullies. We get a lot of unfortunate bully cases, but these guys, they know what they're doing. These are some awesome dogs. If you're looking for a bully with a good temperament, like, they're the place to be.
Oh, man. Thank you. Double XL pit bulls, it's asked, is Voodoo an XL or a standard? Voodoo is an XL American bully. She's what, 23?
All of our females, they're all XLs. Voodoo's 22 and a half.
Yeah, 22 to 23 inches tall.
Big girl. She's 85 pounds.
So with Dooley, we're looking to
shorten the leg.
Shorten the leg, but use Voodoo to bring in size because Voodoo has got some big old dogs on her pedigree. So if you have more questions about that double XL pit bulls, send us a message because we're more than welcome to answer those questions. Yeah. I can send you your pedigree and all that. All right, Sarah, this was awesome. Yeah, I love this.
We also have a website, so you can check out all of our dogs' pedigrees. Our website is heartandsoulbullies.com.
All spelled out.
All spelled out. I didn't say the www
Good
that
job.
time.
You did it.
www.
All the time I'm like, www.com.
That's how you know you're getting old. You say www.
This is my second live ever. I did it all by myself this time too. I made all my posts last time.
It's great.
And she's like, okay, now you need to post on your story, and now you need to do this. I'm just like, okay, tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
It was great. All right, well, I'm looking forward to next week already to talk about energy. So everybody, please join us next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We're going to do our best to be as consistent as possible. Yeah. So we're going to try to do every Thursday.
It's fun for us, too. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I love these things.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye-bye.
I don't know how to get off.
I don't know how do I end